Next, we are going to learn how to convert from one base to another. As we learned in the previous video, we have different bases, base 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, and so on. So we can convert from one base to another, just the way we can convert from one language, like English, to another language, like French. So we are first going to learn how we can convert from any other base to base 10, which is our standard base. And we have an example. Our first example says we should convert 101 in base 2. You can see the base 2 written as a little 2. So 101 in base 2 to base 10. How do we go about this? When we are converting any number from base 2 to base 10, we want to first of all write that number out. 101 in base 2. The next step is to give each of these numbers powers or exponents, starting from the smallest number and going backwards. All right? So we give them exponents. So this first number is going to have an exponent or power of 0. And then the next one we have a power of 1. And the next one we have a power of 2. It keeps increasing. Now, after doing this, we are going to multiply from this now moving forward. We are going to first take this 1, multiply it with the base raised to the power it has. What that means is we are going to have 1 multiplied with the base times 2 raised to this power 2. Then plus, we are going to do the same thing for this 0 and this 1. So we are going to write 0 multiplied with the base times 2 and raised to the power 1. Also, we are going to add it to the last number, 1 multiplied with the base 2 times this 0. So now we can solve. This becomes 1 times 2 raised to the power 2 is the same thing as 2 times 2, which is 4. Plus 0 times 2 raised to the power 1 is the same thing as 2. And then plus 1 times 2 raised to the power 0 is 1, because anything raised to the power 0 is 1. At the end of the day, we have 1 times 4, which is 4, plus 0 times 2, which is 0, plus 1 times 1, which is 1. So 4 plus 0 plus 1 is equal to 5 in base 10. So it therefore means that the number 101 in base 2 is equal to 5 in base 10. And that is how to convert from any base to base 10. All right, let's take another example. Now, let's say we are told to convert another number, 101,011 in base 2, again to base 10. We are going to follow exactly the same pattern as the first example. So what is the first step? We want to write these numbers out. Again, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1 in base 2. The next step is to give them powers, starting from the right-hand side back to the left-hand side. And we start from a power of 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So the powers keep increasing by 1 the more you move towards the left-hand side. The third step is to multiply each number by the base raised to its power or exponent. So we are going to have this first number, 1 times the base 2, raised to the power of 5, plus the next number, 0 times the base 2, raised to a power of 4, plus the next number, which is 1 times the base 2, raised to power 3, plus the next number, 0 times the base 2, raised to power 2, plus the next number, 1 times the base raised to power 1, plus the last number, 1 times the base raised to power 0. This becomes 1 times 2 raised to the power 5 is the same thing as 2 multiplying itself 5 times. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. So if you multiply this, you are going to have 32. Plus, there is no need to actually solve for this because anytime you have 0 times a number, it will always be 0. So let's move to the third number. Plus 1 times 2 raised to the power 3 is the same thing as 2 multiplying itself 3 times. So that gives us 8. Plus, we have a 0 here, so meaning everything here will be 0. Then plus 2 raised to the power 1 is 2. So we have 1 times 2 plus 2 raised to the power 0 is 1, because anything raised to the power 0 is 1. So we have 1 times 1. Now 1 times 32 is 32, plus this is 0, plus 1 times 8 is 8, plus this is 0, plus 1 times 2 is 2, plus 1 times 1 is 1. So when we add up all these numbers together, 32 plus 8 plus 2 plus 1, we are going to have 43. All right? So that is how we proceed. We move to another example. This time, let us learn how to convert from another base that isn't base 2 to base 10. Let's see how to convert from another base that isn't base 2 to base 10. So let's say we are asked to convert 321 in base 8 to base 10. What do? The process remains the same. We are first going to write out all the numbers 3, 2, 1 in base 8. The next step is to give them powers, always starting from the right hand side and moving back to the left hand side. This will have a power of 0, this will have a power of 1, and this will have a power of 2. So then we are now going to multiply each number by the base raised to the power. Each number by the base raised to the power. So this becomes 3, the first number, times the base 8 raised to the power 2 plus 2 times the base 8 raised to the power 1 plus 1 times the base 8 raised to the power 0. This becomes 3 times 8 squared is the same as 8 times 8, which is 64, plus 2 times 8 raised to the power 1 is 8, plus 1 times 8 raised to the power 0 is 1. So we have 3 times 64 to give us 192, plus 2 times 8 to give us 16, plus 1 times 1 to give us 1. So when we add up all these numbers, we are going to have a total of 209 in base 10. So it means that 321 in base 8 is equivalent to 209 in base 10. The process of conversion remains the same. The only thing that you have to take note of is that you must multiply by the base. Let us solve another example using yet another base. This would be example 4. And we are told to convert 3,320 in base 5 to base 10. What is the first step? We write out all the numbers. 3,320. The next step is to give them powers. As usual, don't forget to write the base. So we're going to give this a power of 0, 1, 2, and 3. Next, we are going to multiply each number by the base raised to the power. Each number by the base raised to the power. That becomes 3 times 5 raised to power 3 plus the second number 3 times the base 5 raised to its power 2 plus 2 the third number times the base raised to power 1 plus 0 times the base raised to power 0. This gives me 3 times 5 raised to power 3 is the same thing as 5 times 5 times 5, which is 125. Plus 5 raised to power 2 is 5 times 5, which is 25. So we are going to have 3 times 25 plus 2 times 5 plus everything here would be 0. So 3 times 125 gives me 375 plus 3 times 25 gives me 75 plus 2 times 5 gives me 10 plus 0. So when you add up all these things, you are going to have a total of 460 in base 10. So it means that 3,320 in base 5 is equal to 460 in base 10. Now let us solve one more example, converting a base 16 to base 10. So if the number you are asked to convert is base 16, what are you going to do? Here is the question. Convert 2AE5 in base 16 to base 10. The first step we want to take is to write all the numbers down. So we have 2AE5 in base 16. The next step is to give them powers, starting from the right-hand side, moving backwards. This will have a power of 0, 1, 2, and 3. The third step is to multiply each number by the base raised to the power. That gives us 2 times the base 16 raised to the power 3 plus A times the base 16 raised to the power 2 plus E times the base 16 raised to the power 1 plus 5 times the base 16 raised to the power 0. If you remember from my last video, we learned that in base 16, A represents 10 and E represents 14. If you are confused about this, do well to check out my introduction to number-based video where I explained why this is so. This means that anywhere we have A in our question, we are going to replace it with 10, and anywhere we have E, we are going to replace it with 14. So solving for this, 2 times 16 cubed is the same thing as 16 times 16 times 16, and that is going to give us 4,096. Plus, instead of A, we are now going to substitute it with 10. So we have 10 times 16 squared is the same thing as 16 times 16, which is 256. Plus, instead of E, we are going to put it as 14. So we're going to have 14 times 16 raised to power 1 is 16 plus 5 times 16 raised to power 0 is 1. So when we solve this, 2 times 4,096 gives us 8,192 plus 10 times 256 is going to give us 2,560 plus 14 times 16 is going to give us 224, and plus 5 times 1 gives us 5. So when we add this up, we are going to have a total of 10,981 now in base 10. So it means that 2AE5 in base 16 is equal to 10,981 in base 10. I believe with these examples, you understand better how to convert from any base to base 10. So, can you try? I will give you some examples and you can try your best to solve them. Try and convert 247 in base 9 to base 10. Also, try and convert 1332 in base 4 to base 10. And also, try and convert F, F, F in base 16 to base 10. If you have any confusions, feel free to go back to that part of the video where I explained it, or ask questions in the comment section. That is the end of this part of the video. Please like, follow, and subscribe. Thank you.